Okay, this lecture today will be on business and type of, self-employed, be part of it, and also we're going to talk a little bit about if you want to be civil service or work for a big company. So I think it's good to learn all this when you're in college or before you go into business, because a lot of people think, oh, I could just do gardening. Well, there's a lot more to gardening than taking care of the plants, okay? So if, no matter what you go into, you're going to dealing with the public. And I really think you should take public speaking in college. Don't make it a major, but study a little bit of public speaking. I think it'll really help you a lot. The other thing that you want to do is look into what type of gardening. If you want to do like I did, self-employed, what do you want to have? A one-man, a two-man, maybe 2 or 3 employees. You want to have 15 or 20. You want to have 150. So it gets, if you get to be 150, you're no longer a gardener. You've got to know that. You're going to be a manager. So in our business, we wanted to have control, so we always just a couple employees, and a lot of times we have part-timers that while they're going to school, and some of them even have a day maybe of their own accounts, but then they work for us, and with us, whenever you work for us, we're total legal operation, and we'll talk about that later. There are a lot of licenses and insurance and everything. And if you go in for civil service, the one advantage there is right off the bat, you're getting a pretty good paycheck. Of course, it's not the paycheck at the end after all the taxes and retirement and everything taken away. This is your gross. It looks very good, but still, it's much better than when you start out, unless you could have money and can buy a route. And I don't like to do that. I've never bought a client, because if the people don't like you, they let you go, and you paid for that job. So be a little careful before you would do that. If I was going to buy clients, I would have something in the contract to the person I'm buying them from that I have to keep them 6 months so they'll get the second half of the cost. Half down, half in 6 months. That way, any job you lose, you're not going to be paying for it. So they may not go for it, but then you don't buy, okay? When you're going to work for bigger companies, the bigger the company, there are steps to go up, and then you can get into management. So it all depends if you want to be a gardener or management. A lot of time, maybe you just want to be a foreman, because a lot of foremans work. So they take the crew out, tell them what to do, oversee it, and work themselves. And that way you keep your finger in it a little bit. And civil service, there you go. You've got all the steps all the way up to supervisor. And, but all these different things we just talked about takes a different personality. If you're like people, probably self-employed is good. Also, if you're self-motivated, you got to get your butt out of the bed in the morning, you got to put in the time, and a lot of times maybe you don't want to go, but when you're self-employed, if you don't go, no money's coming in. So, I could count the days that I was off sick or disabled, If you drag yourself on the job, you did it, okay? And a lot of my friends that are in civil service, they pull a hangnail, that's good for a week. You can get a week off, So then a lot of civil service that I don't know how legal it is, but they work on the side. And I think this is good. As long as you don't make the majority of your money on your business, the majority of the money and time is spent on the city job, that should be fine. Because a lot of time you're not making enough, you have a family, you have commitments, and a little extra money, and a lot of guys work Saturday and Sunday. And if they want a Sunday off with the family, they just don't do the work, you know. So if you could be flexible, okay. Then there's one other operation working for something like Kaiser Hospital, big estates. If you could get your foot in the door, some of those for the right people are the right job. And some of these estates, they love you, you're like part of the family. They give you a house to live on the property. Whatever money comes in, you know, it's halfway decent. And one of my friends that did that, when the people went to Europe, the freezer was open to him. He'd eat pheasant, deer meat, whatever was in there, all okay. So you have to look into these things, you know, and a lot of times, unless you talk to people, you probably wouldn't even know they existed, you know, but the more experience you have in gardening and thinking about this and studying it, then you kind of go your way. You could be like gardener like us, self-employed, and then bounce into estate gardening maybe when you get older. Because one of my friends did that. Gee, he worked until he was 90, working the estate. He hardly did anything. What he did, he'd hire people to do the work. He oversaw everything in that estate, and that worked out. I told him one time he was thinking of retiring. I said, "What for? You are retired already. You know, you're living a great life. You know," and so that's part of the thing too. I think is you should be more or less happy. Don't believe this stuff that you have to be happy, happy, happy. Long as you could be content and like that. You'd hate to go to work and hate every minute of it. I don't care if it's self-employed or civil service. If you hate what you're doing, then it's no good. But if there's a lot of good points in it, hey, you could endure and better off for you. So those are the main things I think I could tell you about. For me, I like being my own boss. And then the other thing is when you're your own boss and it's self-employment, I don't like you. You're my client. I hire you, but they hired me, but I don't like you. I can make a good excuse why I have to drop you. I'm just not working this neighborhood anymore. I'm not doing this. And you could walk away. And believe me, when you walk away from one you don't like, you have the best day of your life. You're just happy all day, all afternoon, because you got rid of that person that was on your back. And sometimes they're nice people, but it's just that they don't jive with you. You know, you gotta connect. If you connect, believe me, you're, in a lot of accounts, you're like part of the family. In fact, I have one client or two. I've worked for him for 55 years. Robert's still doing them now. You know, they wouldn't hire anybody but us. You know, and that says a lot for your business when, in gardening especially, that you can work for somebody for 55 years. Okay? I guess that's about it. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.